Yeah. See, you should wait for that.
Yeah, all right. Good morning, Miss Gina. It is April 4th on a nice Friday morning, and we are at the Economic Development, Forest Preservation and Environmental Conservation Committee. And I guess we will start off with attendance.
So we have Supervisor Ann Cassidy Dorian, Elena Finnan, Clark Henry, Rita Osborne McCall, Mark Schrayer, David Diacino, Clara Park, Roy Thornton, Matt Nieto, and Chairman Bill Rabbit.
Very good. And I believe we have something from the public this morning. Or maybe a presentation.
Yeah, presentation.
All right.
We'll try this way.
Should I just take the keyboard?
Yeah. Wait,
Yeah.
let me just get it.
Do you want to sit here, Roy, or do you want to stand?
I sit here. I'm gonna go over there.
I prefer to stand.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, this is, whoops. I didn't even do that. I know. It's on, yeah, I think it's set up as a slide show. Anyway, I should probably take grassland off there because it's more than just grassland birds. I've been out there a couple of times this spring already, cleaned the boxes out. And there were some bluebirds that were beginning to look at the boxes. A couple of tree swallows flying around that may have been moving through because I didn't see them the second time. So the activity out there is beginning. There are good reasons to maintain that wildlife habitat, the mowed areas, or what they call the low-mow areas. This is the we'll get to this. This is the area where the low-mow zones are. This is mostly disc golf. Yeah. I know, you turned it on the slide.
Yeah, we can probably turn it off. Let me just try.
Back
really
it up to the.
I must have just hit the wrong button.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that
All
would
right.
work.
Arrows, we're trying arrow though. Oh, okay. We'll do that.
Okay, there's another low-mow zone along here, which was set up by the CAC. I don't visit that very often. It's be a long walk. Most of the birdhouses are along here and up through to about here. Seen that sign, obviously. And this shows the zone between the mowed and the non-mowed. The mowed paths are going to be laid out again to make it a little bit better for the disc golf. And Ray Smith said that maybe it will increase the low-mow areas. There's good reasons to try to improve the habitat for grassland birds. This is the one that my wife and I saw twittering on a landfill cap 13 years ago. And we went back a week later and the lawn had been mowed to 3 inches and they were gone. They didn't come back. If you want to look up what they sound like, or go out there sometime in, I guess, late May. This was the one that was actually at Latnick Park. And the Bluebird Trail, there's 18 boxes. I've been maintaining those for about 10 years. Beautiful little bird. That's the male. This is Bob Unick, Niskayuna resident, licensed bird bander. And he banded 35 tree swallows and about 8 bluebirds last year. We missed some of them because of timing.
How do you go about catching them to band them?
I've got a picture of a box at the end, and I can show you.
Okay.
But briefly, we walk up very quietly from behind the box, put a cork in it, and then loosen the screw and lift the door. And he puts his hand inside and grasps to see if there's an adult that we've trapped. And if not, then he raises the lid and checks the nestlings to be sure they're in the bandable range. If they're too small, you can't. And then puts them into a grass-filled bin that he has strapped to his waist, which is down under this notebook. This notebook keeps the older ones from jumping out. And then while he has the bird in his hand, he measures its wing and wing cord length, which gives an idea of age. And very carefully, I'm not sure how he does it, gets a tiny little band off this clip, puts it on that pair of pliers, opens it up a little bit, slides it over the leg of this little bird, and then crimps it back closed again. So unfortunately, he's got health problems that started last year, and it's not at all sure that he's going to be able to band this year. This is what bluebird eggs look like. They're a little bit bigger than the end of my finger. That's a nestling that probably could have flown away if we disturbed it. The other bird that uses those boxes extensively is the tree swallow. We put the boxes out in pairs. The bluebirds will take one, the tree swallows will take the other. That's an adult that he did capture, and he's banding it as well. If it has a band on it, he records the data to know that it has come back again. There are a lot of other birds there, especially in the edges and in the woods. That's a list of those that have been seen and heard last year. This one is much less common, and it was a real treat to Bob, who's an avid birder, to see it come back last year. He saw a group of 5, 2 adults and 3 young ones. Saw this soaring overhead. That's this spring. Red-tailed hawk, excuse me. Barn swallows may not be there now because the barns have been taken down. Red-winged blackbirds are all over, especially in the reeds on the edge of the river. I've seen eagles soaring overhead. I know that there's a nest somewhere not too far away, and then there's other nests down the river. Canada geese, they are both beautiful and a pain in the neck, especially around the pond there in Bladnick Park. They make a mess for people who have to dodge. Cedar waxwings, I saw the flock last year. That surprised me because they're usually in trees, they're going after fruit. But there they were. Wrens, they're mostly in the woods. I had one wren's nest last year. They're not as desirable to me anyway at Bladnick, so we moved the box away and maybe they won't nest in it this year. I maintain boxes at my house for the house wrens. This is the killdeer plover that Matt was talking about that needs grass, short grass or dirt to nest in. Matt said he saved some last year on the baseball field, which is great. Savannah sparrow is a definite grassland bird. A friend of mine took that picture. There's other grassland sparrows. I'm not a skilled birder, so I can't identify them. But there might be grasshopper sparrows, and I know there's song sparrows out there. Saw some turkeys. That was a long shot, so that's why it's so blurry. This is the bad boy. It's an invasive from Europe, and it will get into adjacent or into nests and kill nestlings. I found 4 dead tree swallows last year if they're head specked open by that species. I do everything I can to discourage their nesting. And of course, there are other animals at Blatnick Park. There's good reasons to mow for pollinators and insects up on that landfill. One of the biggest ones is that it can be free of pesticides. These are some shots that were taken out there, and that's a bumblebee in the palm of my hand. Didn't know about that bug. It's goldenrod. Wasps and other insects seem to like the goldenrod in the late summer and fall. There's a honeybee in here, if you can spot it. They really like that crown vetch. And another honeybee. And then this knapweed is fairly common up there, and the bees like it. There's one right there. And that surprised me. This was down near the pond in the woods, working its way towards the pond. And also saw one of those, garter snake. It's a little dark right here, but there's the head. Rabbits. So the wildlife seems to be thriving up there. The grassland birds seem to be coming back, and the Loma areas are important. And thank you very much for kind of going along with this. This is the birdhouse. It's hinged here with a screw that holds it in place here. This was something I came up with to hopefully combat ants. I put a little bit of a mixture of peanut butter and honey and boric acid in that. There's a hole drilled on the other side of it, about that big around and about that deep, that I can butter that stuff into, screw it underneath, and I leave gaps for the ants to get in. And that seems to help control the population. Anyway, this is with it open, so the banner can reach in like this, and just a side view.
So this is the box you're referring to that helps them,
Yes,
yes.
because you see these sides that extend out.
Mhm.
This door can open up part way, and the bird can't scoot out the side. So anyway, any questions about that? Most of you have seen it before.
Yes. Well, Roy, I want to thank you because you really spurred this whole initiative at Blatnick Park, and obviously it's really got a thing for the bird population.
There's been a lot of people in on it that have helped a lot.
Well, that's good to hear, but thank you again. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Yes.
So should I leave this behind? It's another set of those slides.
Got one right in the office on the table if anybody wants to, we actually have some bagels up there too, if anyone wants to buy, but it's right next to there if you want to sit and read for me. I don't want to take all of them from you, but we have two here, so you don't have to leave one, but if you have them to leave, absolutely.
We'll take a look. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I know.
Okay.
Okay, and do we have anybody from the public on our list today? That brings us to the minutes of February 7th, 2025.
So both the minutes for February and March were completed by Dottie, but I haven't been able to edit them yet. I've been working on a Route 7 grant, so we should be caught up for next month.
Okay, and we'll do March next month as well?
Yeah, so we'll actually do February, March, and April probably.
All right, very good. And that brings us to the resolutions.
So the first resolution I have is a resolution appointing a member to the Niskuna Conservation Advisory Council, Dan McPherson. I think we sent his resume out around already, but if not, I'll resend it. He was interested in a number of different boards. He just wants to volunteer, and he came to the Conservation Advisory Council on Wednesday night and seemed to like that board. So that's his choice. We gave him the choice, and happy to have him.
All right.
The second resolution is a resolution appointing a student member to the Niskuna Complete Streets Committee. The Complete Streets Committee has been lucky, just like the Conservation Advisory Council, actually, to have really good student members. We have a student named Maddie right now who's attended 2 meetings and would like to continue. So I'd like to get her formally recognized as a student member for the Complete Streets Committee. And then the last resolution is a resolution adjusting the fees for fire inspections. One of the first tasks that our new building inspector, Kevin, is working on is bringing the town into compliance with our fire inspections. Alina found a resolution from before COVID actually that set out the fees for fire inspections, but they're flat. And a lot of other communities have some scale for smaller buildings because they don't take as long. Smaller buildings tend to also be like more small businesses sometimes. So we figured if we did a scale where the smaller ones would be less and the bigger ones would be more based on square footage. It's pretty standard, like Glenville, Schenectady, a variety of the other towns around us have the sliding scale. So we can implement the flat fee, for the first couple that we're doing, and we'll just focus on big buildings this month, but we can adjust them to be as fair as possible for the next month. We will be sending out letters that I've been working on with the new building inspectors to these businesses. I'm just letting them know that the fire inspections are coming.
Very good.
If some of you have an agenda that has a 4th one, I added it on the fly, but then Dart and I discussed this. We were talking about a resolution to adopt phase 2 of the natural resources inventory plan. But Dart and I actually really want to go through it with the CAC in detail before we do a full recommendation to the town board to adopt.
At some point, we will ask the town board to adopt it. We want to go through it with the whole board.
Okay, very good. I know there's been a lot of work put into that, so.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've been very pleased. Ashok
Yeah.
has done a tremendous job spearheading this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. That's great.
Yeah, he has been impressed with the way that this grant was moved forward by a show. Yeah.
Excellent. And that brings us to the planning board. Chairman Derpino.
All right, so, a few projects, 929 Pierce Road. That is a application to subdivide a lot, which the planning board denied sketch plan approval. They're coming back as a resolution to go to the zoning board. They do have the option to do that. So that's on Monday's docket to be voted on as a recommendation to zoning. It's an interesting project because we took a look at Pierce Road and planning department did a very nice job of showing potential lots that could be subdivided where a single house could come down and 2 houses could be built. So there isn't language in the comprehensive plan that prohibits that. We have kind of the reverse of saying we don't want small homes taken down or larger homes built on them in neighborhood character. But this is the reverse. This is taking down a house to put 2 houses on a property. So it's not a keyhole lot. It is a rectangular lot, but the frontage needs a 5-foot variance for each one. And there's some other drainage issues in that area. So it's been to our board a few times. We've been looking at it, and so now it's going to go over zoning. 432 Balltown Road is Orange Wine and Spirits. It's a new tenant in the liquor store that's down by Burlington Coat Factory. They're actually taking 1/3 of that store frontage because Burlington actually takes a little bit. If you look at those facades, they kind of are different there. So you'll see that the sign is going to be justified to the right. And it's because they only have that demising wall that goes in where the storefront is. So we talked about signage location, small waiver for that signage goes there, but that's also going to be voted on Monday. 2690 Balltown Road is a GE Vernova. They have an application in for the guard shack and outdoor patio. We had an excellent tour by Matt Savoy up there to not only see that project, but he walked us through the whole grounds, the renovation of the buildings with the link that's going on there. The direct air capture building is underway. It's really an impressive campus. If you've been to the building, as you approach, they're going to put a guard shack up right past like I'll call it like that little wildlife area on the right-hand side. And they'll have like a spillover parking area or turnaround for trucks. As you look at the building, that brick building, that 1960s brick building is getting a complete update. And there's this outdoor recreation center that's solely for their use. That's going to have mature landscaping added. I think, Laura, when we walked through, they're getting rid of some invasive species, like a whole update to that front. It's a pretty impressive design. So for those of you that have been on the campus up there, it's neat to go check it out, and then it'll definitely be worth seeing it once it's completed. 2339 Choice Connecting Road is Harry's Mobile. That one currently is classification is they're challenging the zoning for what they currently have or what they could expand on that property. So it's a project that gets a lot of community feedback. They haven't been to a planning board meeting in the recent months because I think their attorneys are trying to take a look at what the zoning aspects are. But we're expecting at some point for some sort of decision to be made on that, and the applicant possibly to return this spring. 31 East Street is an installation company that's looking to add a diesel fuel tank. That's up on the north end of town. Over there, you can see it from the bike path. It's where that gated road is, tucked back in there. It's a concrete block building, but they're making some renovations. The tenant's been in there for 2 or 3 years, Laura. Someone's on there a couple years.
2 or 3 years
Yeah.
now.
Getting rid of some fuel tanks, putting a diesel tank there. Going to paint stuff brown, try to blend it in a little bit. And we're working on some enhancements to that project. 412 Balltown Road, Dave's Hot Chicken. So that got approved for a couple different things. So they got the tenant change first and then came back, and there were some waivers. We approved the signage waiver, which was very small for their signage on 2 of the facades. There's a decorative art scheme that's going to be painted around the top, which is just on the stucco area, which is reversible. The only thing they did not get was the red colored awnings on the south side facing Central Ave. So as far as I know, I don't know if they're moving forward with that or what the status is, but that was the conditions. Good. Yeah. We talked about what they could do with stuff in the windows. It's an appealing location for them. It was scrutinized pretty good. And I have to applaud the board for working pretty heavily on that one. That was another one that got a lot of community interest, which was good. And then Niskuna Harbors has their initial application in for their PUD. We've had a couple presentations from them, a couple project leads around that, and that's going to be an interesting project to track as well.
Very good. So they're just getting started on that Niskuna Harbor.
They are. I think they have their, the town board, approved that, and then they came back. They have an initial sketch. And there are about 5 or 6 main bullet points between Conservation Advisory Council, other committees, and then the planning board of what we're looking for to see, access to the river. What can you do with the canal? The crossing over the bike path. They're looking at this development's different than River's Ledge. It's going to be geared towards more upstart or working class housing units. So there's a combination of 4, 6, and 10 unit buildings that they want to put on the site. There are a lot of wetlands that are on there, and also non-jurisdictional wetlands that carve up the site differently. So as it shows now, we're looking north. To the west is the concentration of a lot of the townhomes, and then they kind of fit them in. There's a natural pond on that site. The topography kind of goes downhill a little bit. So there's some things they have to work through the initial sketch plan, and feedback from at least our board and some other boards is we're concerned about density, but we're also concerned about connectivity. And, River's Ledge did a nice job with what they did for walkability, how they spread out the houses and the units. And they have the large unit on the south end of their site. This is not a carbon copy of that. It's a different type of PUD, but we were explaining to them, listen, there's characteristics and things that are takeaways because they're actually linked. Their secondary egress is linked. And that was all planned between the two developers. So they have that to their advantage, but we want to make sure that, you know, you're not just stacking up as many houses as you can shoehorn in there. Let's look at what really makes sense of use of the land, distance between things, what amenities are going to be there, that type of stuff. So we know that this is quite a bit of a process, and it's just the first pass on it, but it'll be an interesting use of that parcel.
Yes, yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah, it took me a second. I wanted to have this up when you were talking, but just to give you like a sense of the GE improvements, they did a lot of renderings.
Yeah.
That's their outside improvements. They came to the CAC. This is actually their presentation to the CAC. They have a green roof. They have a lot of the different CAC concerns that they've incorporated, but this is their outdoor working space, overlooking some of the natural parts of their properties where they can bring and entertain people. They look really nice.
I know, so
What's the word for GE?
Right. They have breakaway and just they're modernizing the inside of the building too. They have breakaway rooms. So if someone has to take a phone call quickly or jet out a meeting, they can go into a private area. They don't have to wander through the whole site or get in a golf cart and drive around. They're really taking a comprehensive approach to the campus. It's not just, you know, we're adding a building. They're, I don't want to say they're master planning, but they're planning well. And you can see that when you walk the property.
Yeah, and since we have this up, when they came before the CAC, I mean, they were very amenable for native species, you know, getting into the landscape, protecting the wetlands. So it seemed like they were very amenable. Some of the objectives that the town has for preserving the natural environment. So I think we had a very good meeting with them,
Yeah, that's
at least an initial meeting with them.
And then just so you guys aren't shocked when this goes up, that's about what they've said.
Yeah.
And that is definitely brought back.
Yeah, it's
From what it originally was.
So if anyone's been to a Dave's Hot Chicken, or you go to the closest one here is on Western Ave in Albany. The other thing that we discussed with them is that the inside is very artistic. It's, you know, a lot of spray paint, different graffiti art. At night, you're going to see that because there's a lot of glass on that building. So we talked about, you know, even though you're looking for this whole red scheme as part of your corporate branding, you know, you're going to see colors on this building. And the other interesting thing, I hope Dave's, you know, is very successful there. There's a sea of parking. It's dead space between those buildings that eventually, if that was ever taken over as outdoor space or something like that, your bar got approved to have a little outdoor area. I don't think it was ever executed, but, you know, this may be an opportunity for a business that generates a decent amount of traffic to start chipping away at that sea of asphalt and getting some connectivity. You know, the Chase Bank renovation is really nice. We got some more green space in there, but at some point it'd be nice to see these things linked because it's so car dominant there. And eventually I'm hoping that some of these tenants start to kind of collectively get together and say, hey, listen, let's make this a little bit more pedestrian friendly.
Space.
Right.
Yeah, that would definitely increase sales to people. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, see.
All right, very good.
For zoning board, we have 7 cases next on the, and yeah, cumulative cases. 4 of them are regular residential area variance requests. 2 are kind of tied together because there's a lot of area variances due to a proposed lot line adjustment on Albany and Fillmore, which the planning board has had a chance to look at. And then 1 is a commercial interpretation of code that is Carrie's Mobile 2339 Tri-Ciac Road. I know a lot of residents really pay attention to this. The planning board has been paying attention, CAC. But this is not actually a planning action, so it doesn't have recommendations by the board. It's just a true code interpretation. They are contending that, you know, me as a zoning court enforcement officer did not correctly deny their project. And so they're going to make an argument that they don't need a use variance. And we will make our arguments. We think Rob Hess will help because Elena has to sit up on the board to make our arguments. And then regardless of what the zoning board decides on the code interpretation, it will then go back to actual planning review. So you may hear some people like, why is that on the agenda? Why weren't we notified? code interpretations, they don't get mail outs, they don't get notifications because it's an internal process. And it actually is not related to any kind of plan approval. It's just the next step that they have to take. They want to be clear on which steps they have to take. This is their right to go to the zoning board and make sure that it is the right denial, and then we'll move forward from there. Right, Elena? Okay. Grants update, the Climate Smart Communities grant. I'd say it got paused a little. We were working at a more Schenectady County level, which they've been doing presentations on. Very interesting. Recommend anybody go. I think Aaron went to one of them. The NYSERDA grant, Trish is still working away on the final lawn equipment. Pete called me the other day and said they didn't have the right number of batteries, but I think that's because we don't have the full delivery yet. So Trish and I will check on that. And the Mohawk River Watersheds NRI grant, as we discussed before the meeting started, Ashok Ramasubramanian is the one that runs that grant. He's been keeping it on time and under budget. And he did a presentation to the town board of tweak overview. And we will see if we can get that ready for the town board to do a final on. The linkage study grant has been very busy. We had a really productive on-site meeting on Route 7. If anybody saw a whole bunch of people walking around in police vests, that was because Jordan brought all safety vests. And we were all walking up and down Route 7, making observations on the existing conditions and thinking about what we could do to make a plan to create traffic calming and safe areas for people to cross. Some ways, that can slow vehicles down, create more of a neighborhood feel to the road. So we had probably a good 2 hours out there, and our next step is to basically probably get the existing conditions assessment up on the website and then launch a survey, which he's also been working on with people, asking what their priorities are for Route 7 and what they would like to see or what they think could help. Aaron had a really good conversation with a grant company and
Consulting company, I guess. I don't know what I would call them.
okay, they recommended that we look at congressionally directed funding from Senator Gillibrand, Schumer, and Representative Tonko. We have done that. We have been working really, really hard since Tuesday because it is, of course, due today. And that was when we found out about it. And I just have to do a shout out to Jordan Kochan, Chief of Police. He has turned a letter around. Bellevue Hospital, the president of Ellis, has turned a letter around for us. DOT, the most important because they're the owners, and they have to actually be willing to accept the funding, has turned a letter around for us. CDTA turned a letter around 2 days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone was on board. Right
Bill
away.
Chapman from Complete Streets came in and signed some letters. So, yeah, I'm a little behind on my emails, but I'm hoping I have to get it all submitted today.
Steph was sending one over too.
Yeah, I don't think I have not gotten it. You might have gotten it yet. Bill's been very helpful to us on this too. We've never asked for this kind of money, but DOT, thought it was worth a shot. So if DOT thinks it's worth a shot and we can do it, then we're gonna do it.
It was really happenstance that we found out about it, to be honest.
How much is it?
We're asking for the same
Oh yeah,
as we did for the TAP grant. So I think it was a little
Yeah,
over 4
it's
million.
4 million. So we're basically just repackaging the TAP grant and sending it to the senators and the representative. And DOT would cover, so 80%, we'd ask for 80% federal money, 15% DOT would cover, and the town would be 5%, like we did before, where we would direct most our funds to the sidewalks.
Excellent.
So Complete Streets has been working on the sidewalk projects. We actually have a pre-construction meeting for the upgrades to the Palmer Ave sidewalk scheduled for next week. Anne was helping me communicate with the school on coordinating the sidewalk installation. We were hoping to have that done very early spring. And So that should be a good improvement to Palmer Ave. We did get one round of drawings for Birchwood, which Matt and I met with the consultant on for quite a while. We want them to look at more things before we come back with a full draft of what that sidewalk would look like. And we don't actually have the drawings for Cornelius yet, so we need to finalize our priority letters. And then I already kind of went over the linkage study and public outreach. Complete streets, just a reminder, the linkage study needs in-kind hours. So complete streets is the main source of our in-kind hours to help with our linkage study grant. And they spent most of their last meeting working on corrections and comments to the sidewalk and working through the survey that would be released to residents. So our consultant Labella and the Transportation Council run that, but the complete streets is a big part of our in-kind. Tree councils bolded here, Arbor Fest scheduled for April 26th. I thought we had a really good resolution with Market 32. Thank you, everybody, to make that happen. I know most of the town staff signed the card, which I'm really grateful for, and Market 32 really seemed to enjoy that. There was a good press release that got put in the Gazette somewhere in the positive section of the Gazette, and I think it's really good to recognize when somebody goes above and beyond to make right town there. And you know, Doug, thank you for mentioning all of that. The Arbor Fest is scheduled for April 26th. It is a bigger event. We're sharing it with the police drug take back day, but we have our own little separate lane. And we have a food truck coming. It is called Holy Crepes. We've invited Tommy Nikki, but I haven't heard back from him, so I'll see if I can get him for kids that don't want to eat crepes. Hopefully, still like hot dogs. And then we'll have music, and then we'll have our trees, and we'll have our experts, and we'll have crafts and games. So hopefully we'll get a good turnout there. Hopefully it's not incredibly windy and snowy, which it sometimes is. And we do also have been working with the high school to have art. So if we can, we'll put the art up in town hall, and you'll be able to see tree inspired art from our high schoolers. Well, actually from any grades that are in the student schools. So we'll come. It'll be really good. Yeah, the draft street tree master plan really is ready for circulation, but when we're working on Arbor Day, that'll probably come to you guys after Arbor Day. And then so Pete reached out and said that, you know, we bought some trees at the end of last year, and that they have, it's still hard, but they have some time to do it in April before they really gear up to like parks maintenance and all the things that they do all summer long. So they brought over stakes and said, go. So Tree Council is going, and they have picked Rosendale Highlands Country Club Estate subdivision for planting in early May or late April. So they'll be planting 10 trees in that area. They've gone to the highway's old list to look at who's requested trees, and there's a number of older requests in the Country Club Estates area. So if you see them out there, they are looking to plant some trees. And that is to you, Jordan.
Okay. As we mentioned, from the resolutions, the CAC is going through the NRI, and we're going to look at all the priorities, and we are going to ask the town board at some point to make a resolution. We would like the town to adopt the recommendations in those NRIs. We feel there's a lot of really good things in there. And then what we'll do with that list is the committee will take a list and set up a priority, and then go after some of them immediately and some of them later. That's sort of the plan. We did meet with GE, and as I mentioned, they were very amenable to a lot of the objectives that the town has as far as the environment. I think the board looked at it and thought it was a very well thought out plan. I thought that meeting went extremely well. We did look at the PUD down at Niskuna Harbors, and we had similar concerns with the planning board. It seems like there's a lot of similar things with connectivity and the density of the housing. We did have a discussion though about the 25-foot buffer from the areas or the, because now we're in an urban area and that could jump feet, that could have a substantial effect on what that sketch plan looks like. That's TBD. One of the things that we want to make sure from a CAC standpoint is to get walking paths from, previous development and make it a continuous park. People can walk there, providing access to that. We also want to make sure that there's walkability within the site, particularly around the natural ponds and stuff for the residents to use. And again, we want to make sure that the lighting as well is night sky component, just right along the river, and with the habitat along the river, there's probably a lot of wildlife that is in there. And there's been a lot of studies that show that light all night does disturb the wildlife patterns. So we look forward to working with the developer on that particular project. The other thing we discussed was the Pierce Road project, and that's kind of an interesting project because they are going in front of the zoning board. I mean, the ZBA, and the CAC recommended a positive deck for that project. So it's interesting because depending on what the ZBA says, they're still going to have a adverse impact for the town as far as the CAC is concerned. So we'll just have to work that out when we go through. I don't think we've been in that situation before.
So do we think that you'll be able to go from Aqueduct Park and walk through the two subdivisions at River Ledge and a new PUD and kind of go, I guess you're gonna,
That will be
The
the
goal.
objective. That's the goal. Yeah.
good. That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, other things too. I mean, with the canal being there, if we could incorporate that as well,
Mhm.
maybe put some historic signs where the canal bed is and stuff like that.
Yeah. The takeaway from the last planning board presentation, and Rob has kind of spearheaded this, was that they have to get a clear understanding of those new regulations. That's going to dictate what this plan ultimately can do. And until those are really solidly answered by whether it's a team of their consultants or coordination with state agencies, that's going to drive the way that this goes. Those other goals are all things we want to do. Like you said, the connectivity, but they've already done some of the forefront of an agreement and easement on connecting the roads. And like Dart says, this is a natural progression of this really unique area along the river. This is, and Lori brought this up, this is your one shot to make it the best it can be.
Yeah,
And we're going to push them pretty hard to meet all those goals.
excellent.
The one thing about expanding the park, which I put up there, is there's
Right.
a lot of wetlands along the park. So it may be an extension of the park, but it's not likely going to be a asphalt path like they have in River's Edge. What we're talking about here, and Clark and I have a meeting with them later this afternoon, is like natural trails. Because of the constraints here, but he has said that there's Old Erie Canal abutments and stuff in there, but that hatched gray is wetlands. So we may be talking like boardwalk, I don't know what it
That's
is,
what
but
I would like to see is boardwalks or something like that. But
Raised over it.
Yeah, raised over the
Yeah,
wetland
yeah.
area.
yeah, there's
that
a
would
lot of
be
wetlands.
ideal.
Those gray hatched areas are all wetlands. Yeah, developers.
Developer?
Yeah. It always does have an ongoing town maintenance.
See, this picture here uniquely shows the concerns about the wetland and the setback. It's 25 feet, vice 100 feet. It's going to really impact at least the, that side. Right.
Yeah, big time.
And we told them too, we're always seeing this plan. We're like, let's zoom out a little bit and see the whole area, and then let's zoom back in. And they're good. I mean, this is, Chuck Pafundi, which was part of the first development. He's working with this developer as a consultant. Brett Steenberg's there. So it's familiar faces that we've seen. So they know the lay of the land well.
Yeah, and it takes a while because the other site, I mean, that was in the planning process for years.
It was, yes, and it was well done. Absolutely. Yeah, that really is that's a big a big deal to the town of Nisku in that area. And it's a one-shot deal, so we'll get it right.
Did you have your meeting with the business view?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because they were kind of focusing on that area too.
I had a really like kind of all over the place conversation with them. They were intrigued by Niskuna, but the first thing that I brought up, and I don't remember the question she asked. This is a magazine that does, I think their primary goal is to try to reach vendors for, economic development purposes. And so they sort of go regionally and get all of the vendors that are working with municipalities, and then they'll do focuses on different municipalities so that, and I believe they did one in 2020 was the last time. But one of the things I was talking about the location is proximity to that Adirondack Park, and then, New York City and Boston. And it's just this area where you can get to all different kinds of America, so to speak, from just this location. And so then she started asking a lot of questions about, she's on the map, kind of like going through it was a great conversation. I can't for the life of me remember what I was focused on because I was reading your notes and then answering her questions, and I'm really hoping she doesn't quote me verbatim.
It'll be fine because it's all like,
She was really
it's all positive publicity, so it'll be fine.
I don't even know if it comes out in print now that I'm thinking of it.
Oh,
I think
really?
it might be in an online journal, but I guess you should go and check that. Oh, actually, I should say this though. They are looking for really high resolution photos of pretty much anything that's units. Yeah, I don't know. It's so funny because that sounds like such an easy thing to produce, and I'm not sure that we really even have a whole lot in house. But if you guys know if you have neighbors or people who have taken and it really could be anything, nice in this unit that you want to focus on. I think we touched almost everything in that article. So if you have high resolution photos, let me know. They're looking for them. They want a lot to pick from.
I forgot to mention the winter photo contest for the week council slows. We had amazing photos. The one that we picked as the overall winner, we have age categories too. It's from this lady that lives near the Mohawk Golf Club, and it's a sunrise with a wintry scene and some fog at the Mohawk Golf Club with the tree there and then the golden light coming through.
Did they just post that yesterday?
Yeah, they probably did. We should pick it up and post it on ours, but the winter photo contest was very, very fun. This is beautiful. So maybe we could use some of those too.
Nothing going on with the Mohawk Club, is there?
No.
Just golf. Just golf.
That's to do with this. No, I've talked to a couple members. I haven't had any.
Architectural Review Board, did you have any updates there, Clark?
I'll just give a quick update. The ARB had their March meeting on March 19th. I was on vacation, but I asked Michael Roman to run the meeting and he did a great job. So thank you to Michael for filling in. They're staying up to speed on Niskuna Harbor. They gave some very good input on Dave's Hot Chicken, and they're keeping their eye on 929 Pierce Road as well. And we had a meeting scheduled for 319 for a homeowner at 1929 Regent Street to meet with the ARB on a pretty substantial renovation of his house he was doing, addition he was building to his house. So that's on the docket. Unfortunately, he forgot about the meeting and missed the meeting, so we're rescheduling that. But that's one of the areas the ARB has been trying to reach out into is individual homeowners with a substantial project on their house. This homeowner had been investing a lot of time on his own. He had his own architectural CAD program, so he had some layouts and some renderings. He wasn't working directly with an architect. So it's a great mix to get the ARB involved in that. So they're rescheduling that meeting.
And there's no obligation for him to work with the
No,
ARB,
no.
but people seem to be pretty amenable to it.
Yeah, we explained that and he was very open to the idea. So it's very nice.
I mean, it's kind of a free service. for them,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah,
Well-
really, it's beneficial to the town and the residents. It's
Sure.
a great program.
That case was somewhat contentious at the zoning board, but he's closer to the lot line than he's allowed. So there are times when the town board, if it's a condition of an area variance, can require, architectural review. This actually is still voluntary, but there may come a time like when it gets too close to a lot line and there's, concern from the adjacent neighbor, especially about where windows are and stuff like that, that, they really do have to work through the architectural review board.
Very good. All right.
You want to do any updates on Paul Schaefer Homes Committee? I should probably put that on this agenda.
I was gonna ask if you were gonna add that.
Yeah,
committee.
I'll put it underneath the review board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we've got to get a kickoff meeting scheduled at some point. Get the members together here in the room. They should probably elect a chairperson and then come up with a monthly meeting date and then put out their list of goals, I think, starting with walking the specific neighborhoods and starting to get the catalog going of the list of housings. It's Adam Williams is the one that does the mapping. He has a digital map that he's done on his own. He does mapping for a living of addresses he believes is Paul Schaefer or Schaefer inspired homes. We want to use that document sort of as the draft list of taking a look at what's there. He's over 80, which is interesting.
So still going strong. That's where you triple digits, everybody. Comprehensive plan committee, yeah.
Okay, the committee is continuing to work through the chapters. We went through the transportation draft substantially last meeting and are trying to get it in its final form. I believe we're getting close there. The planning firm is going to provide a draft of the land use chapter. We asked them to look at the previous plan, the trends in the area and stuff like that, and they're going to make recommendations, and we're helping us put that together. There is a subcommittee, which is Rita is involved with that, Laura, myself, and we've gotten David involved with that to go through the historic preservation chapter, and we have a lot of the objectives in that chapter. It needs to be finalized, and we're hoping to get it before the board, the full board, shortly. And we also have the economic development chapter in progress there. So we're starting to actually see written words, and we're starting to really work on, which is nice.
Excellent. All right.
And again, the goal is to get it finished by October. Yeah,
For you.
no one's gonna be happier than me. So that's where we are.
So building department and enforcement, the big letters that just went out this week were, we adopted the short-term rental code. We have fees now, and we know that it will impact existing rentals. So we reached out to the lawyer for the Association of Towns, and they gave us guidance on how to handle the existing short-term rentals. We reached out to Airbnb just because they're the largest, but I think it'll probably be about the same for all of them. For guidance to the owners on how to cancel or adjust their existing rentals so that they comply with our code. And we sent out notification to owners on April 2nd. One of the suggestions was yes, people may have been paying attention to the code, but this is a pretty substantial change to what has been happening. So the mail out was sent on April 2nd. And we're trying to achieve compliance by April 30th. That gives them a little time to work with their existing rentals, get into compliance, and decide whether or not they want to register with the town. We do hear from Milton Keynes, both sides regularly. There are a number of other rentals. So now that we have sent this letter out, we'll see. We may get some more comments. It is a big change, so we'll get them through it. This is probably once it gets up and running and people register, and the rules are clear and everything has had a whole year to adjust and adopt, I think it should be. But this will be the hard time. So yes.
We don't have an idea yet on the numbers, do we, about how many short-term rentals are out there? Or?
Yeah, so there's 8. that I can find. And if you, I've looked through most of the sites that I can find. There's a number of them that may be able to just register and be basically in compliance because they just rent a bedroom in residential zones. There is one in the neighborhood commercial zone that is unhosted, but that is the one zone that is allowed to have unhosted. So if that one goes through the registration process, that one may be okay. There are at least 3 that are full houses that are rented unhosted in a residential zone. So those are the ones that have the biggest change. And those are the ones that are gonna have to adjust their reservations because they need to be hosted and they can't, and they have to be there. So there's 3 properties that are gonna have the biggest adjustment, I think.
Very good. All right.
And as mentioned under the resolution, we are rolling out the new fire inspection program. Kevin Hansraj, our new building inspector, he's been going out with the building inspectors to learn the town, to learn the projects. He's very familiar with fire inspections because he did them in the city of Skeksis regularly. And he's starting that program up for us. He's already met with Fire District 1 to try and better coordinate with them what they're doing in our Fire District 1 district. He will start inspecting Fire District 2 and Stanford Heights. And I'm very happy to have him. He's really already been helping. He's only been here for 2 weeks. So planning department, do you just want to talk quick about the drainage analysis? Claire?
Sure, just very quickly, we continue to work very collaboratively with Matt and the Water and Sewer and Engineering Group and the Highway Department. Just looking at areas within the town where maybe adjustments could be made to our infrastructure to help properties that get stormwater challenged during high intensity, short duration rainfall. You know, those are evolving. Some of the infrastructure is a little bit older. So we're working with residents who have areas, significant areas within the town that may be challenged by stormwater. So we're looking to analyze that and look at what could be done. So we would encourage people as we get into kind of the rainy, wet season, if they're seeing a lot of stormwater issues in their neighborhood, to kind of reach out to us and we'll add them to our list of areas we're looking at.
What do you think we can ultimately do about
I mean, that's what we'll see, you know.
Big question.
We're trying to be very careful not to overpromise, but we do want to listen to people and look at what's out there and maybe set the stages for down the road being able to do what we can.
See what we might be able to do?
Yeah, and one of the things we want to really kind of quantify for people too, we're not talking about an area of your yard that might get a little spongy under some rainfalls. We're talking, and we have some pictures of some people who have really significant flows of water during these high intensity events that weren't anticipated when some of the infrastructure was in place. So we're geared at those types of situations, but we are open to listening to people and explaining that and trying to collectively see what we can do, because you're right, some of this is very challenging.
Very good. Well, thank you, Clark.
I was actually just thinking we should also probably put an engineering bullet point on here. Do you have any engineering updates that you wanted to talk about?
But no, I just a little bit of add to Clark's comments on the drainage. I did have a great meeting with the school district, and I did talk about our interest in studying of the drainage in certain areas around the schools, and they seemed interested to be part of it. Yeah, which was a positive.
Great.
Yeah.
The superintendent said the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
We're very interested in being collaborative. And
Very helpful.
So for Metroplex, Zach said he couldn't make it, but he sent us a report and he basically said there's no new developments for investments in Niskina since last month's meeting. The Metroplex Authority did not meet in April, so their next meeting will be in May.
The only thing I have to add to that is that I have been, over the last couple months, largely because of the GE investment, pushing really hard to try to get any infrastructure money we possibly can from the state because of the investments going over on that side of town. And so Matt had CT Mail go and get, designs made for River Road, or was it Redstone, right?
It's River, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, so that section of River to replace the, water main that's there. And I think it actually came in, we knew it was gonna be expensive, but I think it came in less than you were anticipating. It
Yeah,
was-
slightly, yep.
Yeah, so it's like about $1.5 million. So we are still crossing our fingers. So I sent, Ray Gillen a message the other day just to sort of see where they were at with things. I know he was trying to manage a whole lot of different pockets of money that needed to go to various places based on this investment. So we will keep crossing our fingers. And if I get anything more on it, I'll let you know.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So we lost Elena too because we went a little bit.
She didn't have any update.
Data?
Okay. We already prepared the commission, prepared for, Niska Day. All right, so we have Mr. McKinney, and he'll be doing an exhibit with the drawings of the train station. And yes, we're getting ready for that. And we have, Elizabeth and Marion, and they'll be doing youth activities. So if anyone has any ideas for youth activities, please help us.
What do they have in mind?
Well, they were talking about candy, and they were talking about a drawing contest. You know, have like a stencil of the train station building and having the children draw, and then we have a contest for the best drawing. You know,
Great idea. Niska has a meeting on Monday, actually in this room. So I could float that stuff and see if anybody else has any ideas, maybe stuff they've done in the past, and I can do them either way.
yes. And we're also going to do a video. So if anybody has any ideas to add to the video, we're going to do a video presentation. We did this last year where we had the iPad sitting there, and you know, it just continues run. And people were interested, you know, we had quite a few people that would come to the table, you know, and they would take interest in the video or some of the layouts that, you know, handouts and things that we had. So we're trying to amp that up this year.
That actually brings up a good question. Do we know who else besides?
I was just gonna say, I know Tree Council wants a booth at Niska Day. Is there someone I should reach out to?
I can just send an email.
Okay.
We have to send the insurance information over anyway, so we'll just do it for everybody's communities that is gonna be there.
Everything else was business as usual. We discussed the comprehensive plan, you know, and now that we have a new researcher that's on there with me, Carol and I are going to get a lot more information. We're each going to pull from our resources, you know, and add to the comprehensive plan. And Dart has provided us with a list, right, of the areas that he wanted us to add into the plan, you know. So we're going to get busy on that.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and other than that, I mean, it was the byway project, and Mr. McKinney, we had to thank him very much for the 2 years of leadership, you know, that he put into that work, you know, and also he's really gonna head up the Niska Day, you know, theme and everything. He's gonna incorporate all that. So this is, I mean, it's gonna be a pretty nice year this year.
I wonder if we could direct him now to the Grange with all of his talents.
Yes.
It's actually a really good thing for the part that we can potentially use for the Grange.
Oh, really?
So,
Yeah, the Grange is definitely worth serving.
oh my gosh, yeah. I feel like it's such a waste because it's just been sitting there.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it a lot, trying to get. I feel like once we get the train station on its way, it's gonna be a lot easier to see it.
I think I was in 15 years ago, but it's really spectacular. I mean, the construction of it. It's all supposed to be.
One of those things as a kid, you're, what's in there?
So I shared my core with some raccoons in the ceiling, so.
See, that's what we should do. So it's like a little, yeah, we're raccoon lovers. So we're gonna lead the charge to have raccoons as pets to be our. And count it.
Oh, gosh.
Anything else?
No, it's it, but everyone has their assignments for this year. I mean, our last committee meeting pulled together nicely, you know, and I have to give it all to Carol because she really brought that energy that was needed. So now it's a competition, you know. It was lovely. I swear. Yes, everybody's, now everybody's trying to do their best, be their best self. And it worked out nice. We have all our assignments for the year, and everyone's taking it, has their own part. So we're hoping to get more than one thing done this year, besides Biscuit Day, but to get a couple of things at least, fleshed out, if not fulfilled. So
I have the contact for the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad. They need a certified copy of the resolution. So I asked Michelle and she said she'll do it as soon as she gets back. So, perfect. And then I'll copy you when I email it to her. If they need anything else, we can get it to them.
Oh, we have Joe Pepperoni. He's a speaker. Well, he's a researcher, abolitionist era researcher and writer. He did a recent article on the Charles Now incident. So
he did different than
he
can you
did.
send it to me?
Yes, I spoke to him and he called me yesterday, I think it was, in the morning. But because I had asked him, would he, if we needed a speaker, would he be able to do it for the town?
That's great. I reached out to the Harriet Tubman Byway because Lions Park is not actually a stop considered right now, but they said they can add more later.
Yes.
Right now it goes down Route 5, but Route 5 can certainly use the
Yeah,
love and attention as well. But she was very interested in the Charles Valley story.
Yeah.
So if you can send that to me, that would be really helpful too.
This was also, I couldn't see why, because actually, the Charles Now story, that actually was in Troy.
Well, I know, but he was rescued and kind of hidden in this unit.
No, yeah, he
Yeah.
was. He wasn't hidden in this unit.
Right.
But I'm saying I didn't see why, because that also is part of all the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
Yes, they have the Vigilance Committee, and a lot of the members were there and in this unit.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
said that the Underground Railroad does not go through Troy. So if they were going to tell the story, they would tell it from the
From
Niskayuna
the-
side of the
yeah.
river. Yeah.
Very good. If there is nothing further for the good of the order, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
The vacancy includes the one that is not for the Quincy.
It does not.
So there's really gonna be one.
That's correct.
Hmm.